Welcome to our Coach's Corner podcast. I'm your host, Eric, and I want to thank you for joining us as we turn up the heat by sharing our thoughts on health and fitness, along with some of our personal fitness experiences. Each episode, we'll be covering a wide variety of topics related to overall health and fitness with a no-fluff, real talk perspective.
Welcome everyone to our next episode of Coach's Corner, Fundamentals of Nutrition, Why Diets Fail. So this episode will be jam-packed discussing everything around nutrition, diets, weight loss, and how to set yourself up for sustainable weight management. I'm your host, Amy, and I also have host Eric here with me today. Our special guest on this episode also doubles as one of our hosts, one of your favorites. Everyone, welcome our Account Operations Manager for Well at Humana, Dana Price. Say hi, Dana.
Hey, everybody.
All right, so before we start into our rapid fire questions, let's get to know Dana a little bit better. So Dana is our Account Operations Manager for all Humana Health and Fitness Centers. Now, while her title may read Operations, she has not hung up her coaching hat just yet. Dana's background weighs heavy on the coaching side, being a collegiate strength and conditioning coach at the University of Kentucky, working with 6 different teams during her tenure before moving into the private sector. Dana has spent 7 years as a head performance manager at both D1 Sports Training and our very own Exos, serving Well at Humana. Dana has her master's degree in exercise physiology with a concentration in human performance and nutritional science. Dana loves the idea of helping people reach their full potential by pushing past the preconceived limits they often place upon themselves. In her spare time, you can find Dana enjoying the summer sun at the lake, working out, reading a good book, hanging out with her 2 nephews, and enjoying a good old cup of Joe.
Right on. That.
Yes.
Who doesn't?
All right, so now that we got that bio, let's go ahead and learn some fun stuff about Dana. Dana, you know the drill. We got 10 rapid-fire questions. Actually, I think I got 11 for you today. I don't want you to think. I want you to just answer. Let's get to it. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right, how many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
2.
Big dogs or small dogs?
Big dogs.
Ideal outside temperature?
78 and sunny.
Oh, all right. Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Dark or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Favorite vegetable?
None.
Zucchini.
Do you have a fruit? Okay.
Zucchini.
First celebrity crush?
Ugh. It had to be like a boy band or something. I'm going to pass.
All right. Morning or night person?
Night.
TV show you're currently watching?
None. I'm watching Impeachment right now. The crimes. It's like the American Crime Story.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's on Hulu and it's called Impeachment. It's really good.
Huh, all right. Hot or iced coffee?
Hot.
And last one, favorite snack?
Chips.
Chips.
Any kind of
chips. Right on.
That was my worst performance I've ever done.
I've
in
never heard of
rapid
That
fire.
was you didn't get the rapid very good
and,
today.
and usually I'm very good at it's my game. I play it on every time I travel. Everyone in the car goes through a series, and that was a really bad performance. So
right.
you didn't get my
We're
best.
filming earlier than usual today, so that could be it.
Right.
This is.
All right, so I want to go ahead and just dive into today's topic. I'm super excited about this topic. I think nutrition is something that I personally struggle with the most. So I'm really excited to hear from you, Dana, and your take on things. So obviously we know the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So I'm going to just jump right into the direct question that everyone wants to know. Do diets actually work?
Yes, they do. I mean, they do. Mm-hmm. Honestly, they do. And I think, everyone's looking for like, no, they don't work type of answer, but we're going to kind of go backwards at this, is that they do work if your goal is to lose weight, right? But I think there's a bigger question at play here that you maybe need to ask yourself. So a couple of things that you may need to consider. Can I do this long term? Because most diets are really restrictive of particular food groups. Another one, my favorite, how miserable will I be doing this? Like, you hear diets,
soup diet.
Yeah, like
done that.
God, it's miserable. Like, you're gonna spend like 7 days of your life absolutely miserable. So like, how miserable am I willing to be? how is this affecting like my overall health? So think like not just the way you look, but how you feel, your internal health, things like that. And another one is, what is different about this diet that's going to help me be successful? Because what you see is like lifetime dieters that they have literally tried every diet under the sun. So at that point, it's like, well, what do you think is different about this one that is going to hook you?
I've seen that all the time. You see people, oh, I'm at this one. The next month, oh, I'm trying this new diet. You should try it too. I'm like, the last one didn't work, so why is this one going to work for you?
Yeah. And it's like, it's more self-awareness there of like, what is making you fail the first diet that you don't think is going to make you fail this diet?
I think there is, too, a difference between weight loss and being healthy, too, that kind of comes into play with diets.
Yeah.
Sure, you can lose weight, but is that healthy?
Exactly. Like, if you don't eat the right amount of food, you're going to lose weight. But it's like, at the end of the day, people usually associate losing weight to looking better. And they don't actually go hand in hand in every way. Like you can want to change your body composition and you need to gain more muscle and not so much weight. Maybe you do need to lose some weight, but everyone consistently oftentimes thinks, I will look better if I lose weight. And the question you kind of need to ask yourself is, do I want to be a smaller version of myself, what I currently look like, or do I want to change the way I look? And if you want to change the way you look, it's body composition changes, not just weight loss on a scale.
Right, and you see that in a lot of people. They're like, well, I want to lose weight in my gut or my legs or my hips.
Yeah.
And that's the body composition part, right?
Yeah, that's their problem area. Who doesn't want to lose weight in their problem area? Like everyone has it, right? And we talked about that a few episodes ago of like spot training and things like that. But from a diet perspective, if the goal is to lose weight, yes, you will lose weight on a diet if you do what the diet says. Yeah. But how long can you stay on it is my biggest question.
Yeah. I know we're going to dive a little bit more into the science in a little bit with the whole calories in, calories out and all that. But before we even get into that, let's just talk about some of the most popular diets that we're hearing about. Talk a little bit about them for anyone that might not be familiar, or maybe you're familiar but don't necessarily know what they consist of. So can you just explain some of maybe the top diets and what they entail?
Yeah, so it's funny, they've evolved over the years. Like dieting has been a thing way back, right? So I said I was watching American Crime Story Impeachment, right? And it takes you back, it's mid-90s. So it takes you back and like it's showing you everything that was popular during that time. And Slim Fast was all the rage during this time. So like it shows people eating like the prepackaged meals, like forget what they're called, but
you had what, Jenny Craig back then?
Yeah, it was like Jenny Craig meals. I think Nutrisystem was coming up, but not really big yet.
Weight Watchers still?
Yeah, it's still a thing, and I'll talk about that one actually in a minute. But it was funny because like it was Slim Fast then, right? Now a little bit like mid 2000s, Atkins got really popular. So Atkins is essentially a low carb diet. So it's removing like it removes even veggies. Like it removes high starch veggies. It removes high sugar fruits and simple carbs. So basically it's a low carb diet. But they actually have meal replacements that you consistently buy. You'll see the bar. I've actually had some of the bars, and they're like actually really tasty.
I've tried their little Reese cup Atkins thing. So good.
Yeah, they are very good. And then, I would say two of the most popular diets now are paleo and keto diet. So both of those are very similar in that the paleo diet typically includes like lean meats, fish, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So food that in the past could be obtained from like hunting and gathering, right? So that was probably more popular, I would say, like 5 years ago. It was all the rage. Keto stayed pretty strong. Keto follows kind of the same basis in that the ketogenic diet is very low carb, but it's actually very high fat. So it shares similarities with Atkins, paleo, and any low carb diets. It's going to drastically reduce the amount of carbohydrates that you have in your system. So the whole premise behind that is that the body will burn fat storage instead of carb storage, so instead of sugar, right? I won't get into all that. That's a whole thing that we're not going down. And then there's things like Nutrisystem that are pre-ordered meals that you order from. Weight Watchers has actually really evolved over time. I'm not mad at them for what they're doing. My parents actually did Weight Watchers. This is like 2009. My dad probably lost like 60 pounds.
Nice.
And he looked the best he had ever looked. My brother was getting married around that time. My mom did it with him. She didn't really need to do it, but did it with him. You had to watch her a little bit because she got a little too thin trying to help him. But like, it actually teaches you pretty good balance. It's one of those that doesn't really eliminate anything. And it actually teaches you, I know they have their own count system. They have their own like Weight Watchers points. But they've actually evolved with the times. And they still push eating nutrient-dense foods, right? Eating lean meats, vegetables, complex carbohydrates, but they don't eliminate a treat here and there. So you can have the small Snickers bar, and basically it goes along with the lines of counting your macros. So I'm not technically really like, if I would do anything, I'd do Weight Watchers. They did in the early 90s. They used to which the whole world did, push low-fat everything. So, like, you could eat tons of, like, low-fat chips, or they had Weight Watcher ones. But, I mean, I've seen firsthand success from that, and it's a little bit easier to maintain throughout the long run. So those are some of the popular, more trendy diets that you'll consistently hear in the industry.
So if you're saying that these diets work, then why are they consistently receiving this backlash in the nutrition fitness industry?
Yeah, and like, I'm one that's going to give it backlash consistently. Again, it goes back to the question that I asked in the beginning, is a question that you need to ask yourself. Is this sustainable long term? So I spoke about 2009, Dad lost 60 pounds. He's gained 60 plus pounds back, right? And that's usually what you see in diets. You see success, but then you see, you don't really see long-term weight loss.
The yo-yo dieting.
So you lose it, but then eventually that diet is not sustainable for a lifetime. Because let's think about it, like, your social events revolve around food. Food does not have to be your enemy. Like, you just have to learn how to control yourself with food. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But really, I believe diets, quote unquote diets, are setting yourself up to fail. You don't initially want to fail, and you are truly trying hard at this diet. But there's life. There's long work days. There's kids' ball games. There's date nights with your spouse. Like, you are not packing your Nutrisystem meal and going. Like, you're not learning how to eat.
Yeah, but a lot of things too, like these extreme diets. Like, there was one, I don't even know what this diet was called, but it's like you get B12 shots and eat like 2 apples a day or something. But like, think about when you eat a normal piece of food, like,
what's gonna happen?
Of course you're gonna lose weight, but like when you go back to just any kind of normal eating, it's completely unsustainable.
So that's my biggest thing with paleo and keto. And let me preface with this is, I've seen people with really big success following these 2 specific diets. But what I have seen from these people is they have learned food, and they have evolved keto into their own. So they start making keto recipes. They start making their favorite pizza, but just in a keto way. They start making their favorite dishes in a paleo style. So they evolve the diet to work for their lifestyle.
That's what I was going to ask you is it the diet themselves that's not sustainable, or is it the behavior change that it has to come to that's not sustainable?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, right? So I don't know if the diet is sustainable for 25 years.
Right. Yeah,
right?
True.
Because most of us hopefully get to live that long, right? But I also think what happens when you do start these diets, the good thing about it is you do start become more aware of what you're putting in your mouth. And you do start to realize that you start to feel better when you're
Right.
eating these healthy things, because everything in these diets is essentially nutrient dense food. And what I mean by that is the general public would call it clean eating. I'm not going to call it that. Like, no, we did not put Windex on that food. What they mean by clean is that, let's say, a piece of chicken and broccoli and rice. It doesn't have as many calories in it as, say, pizza. So it's more calorie dense. Like, you can eat more of that and not equate to as many calories as 2 pieces of pizza may have, right? So it's calorie dense, nutrient filled foods. And those people that evolved the diet into their own, they've now learned and changed their behavior. So that's the biggest thing, is like,
So that led them to the behavior change.
yeah, now they can be successful long term because they've changed everyday behaviors into healthier decisions, step by step by step. And honestly, with dieting, here's the hard part with not even dieting, with eating healthy. It is a decision at every meal, every snack, and it's hard to make the right one, or the
Right.
better one, I should say, 80% of the time.
I think a lot of people, when they set out to do a diet, it's a lot of times something coming up, a reunion or a wedding or something. I need to lose weight for this. And then that event happens, and they have not made this their lifestyle. They just wanted to lose that weight for that. And then, boom, you're back to normal life. You didn't really
Yeah.
learn anything. You didn't really integrate anything. You're just looking for that quick weight loss. I think that's where a lot of people get.
And I would even go as far as to say with meal plans, too. Meal plans are the same. Like, we're not necessarily digging into meal plans. What meal plans do is what I just talked about.
Right.
They start making you aware of the choices that you're making, and then you start to become more self-aware of how you're feeling. But meal plans essentially do the same thing. There's no way if you go to this quote-unquote nutritionist, right? We're kind of smirking at one another in here. Is that if they say you're going to eat 5 meals a day, okay? And your first meal is eggs and oatmeal. Your second meal is a protein shake. Your third meal is chicken, broccoli, and rice. Your fifth meal is another shake, whatever. And your dinner is a potato, another meat, and vegetables. How long can you eat that same thing every day?
Give me a piece of pizza tomorrow.
Like, right? I mean, people do this in bodybuilding, right? That is for like one goal. That's where meal plans started. That is my preps were usually 16 weeks, but I gave myself some time. A lot of people can do it in as short as 12 weeks, but let me remind you, 12 weeks is 3 months. So like,
Yeah.
they are preparing for one day to be in a really small bikini or really small shorts in front of a crowd of people. That's some pressure, right? If you don't have that pressure and you don't have that mindset, how the heck are you going to eat that same thing every day for a long period of time?
But also, if that's not your goal, why would you? Like, think about what your
Exactly.
goal is and eat toward that goal. Maybe you don't have a chicken, broccoli, rice type body goal. You
Yeah.
just want to be healthy. Maybe just lose 5 pounds. Like, match that with your goals.
Exactly. And like the meal plans, like eventually, again, set yourself up for failure. You're so amped. You're so ready. 4 weeks in, you're like, I swear to God, if I eat another chicken breast, I'm going to lose it. Somebody give me the chips and salsa. And then anyone would want something else. Like, you're not a failure, right? Like, no one wants to eat that all the time. You have friends that go to dinner on Friday. Like, don't bring your Tupperware unless you're bodybuilding. Like, just enjoy. But we'll talk about like how to balance that in a little bit.
So then going back to the diets, even if you don't want to go into like a specific, I don't necessarily want to try keto, paleo, whatever, what is the commonality between these diets that would make them successful, and just the commonality overall in how they help you lose weight?
Yeah, they had it right a long time ago when they said calories in versus calories out. So many people tried to debunk that, and there's some things that we can go into that's going to talk more about that. But from a premise as like a unit of energy, that is correct. So like, let me explain what calories are. Calories are units of energy you get from food and drink, right? And when you consume fewer calories than you burn, you achieve a calorie deficit. So when you're cutting out carbohydrates, those are one carb gram is 9 calories. So a good sized baked potato is 250 grams. Okay, so if we multiply, I'm terrible at math, so I'm not even going to try to do this. But if you did 250 grams times 9, that would be the amount of calories that had in it. So if we completely cut out carbs, we're going to be in a calorie deficit. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what they all have in common, is these diets eliminate things and essentially make you eat less, right? So the calories you burn or expend each day, that's known as a calorie expenditure. Okay, so they include 3 components. Your REE, or better known as your resting energy expenditure. So what that refers to is the calories your body uses when you're just at rest, when you are alive. That your body is still burning calories when you are at rest. You're breathing, your blood is circulating. So that's one way that your body burns calories. The other one is called the thermal effect of food. So this involves the calories your body expends, like digesting, absorbing, or metabolizing food, right? And the one that most people associate with when I say burning calories is your active energy expenditure. So what that does is this refers to the calories you expend during exertion. So things like sports or exercise, fidgeting, if you're a person that fidgets a lot, performing household chores, those are your daily energy expenditure. So all of those 3 components make up how you burn calories. So essentially, you need to take in fewer calories from eating than you are burning to be in a calorie deficit. So ultimately, if you provide your body with fewer calories than it needs to support those 3 components that I listed, you're in a deficit. And if you do that consistently for a long period of time, you're going to lose weight, right?
Quick question from the peanut gallery over here. So from my perspective, this is like awesome information, but I've always heard, and maybe you can either debunk this myth or confirm it, you need calories or carbs for energy or quote unquote fuel for the body.
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
So
and I love that you also mentioned carbs.
Yeah. So if you're in that deficit, then should people feel tired doing these diets, or how does that work?
No, usually, and we'll get to like how to adjust where you should be. Like, okay. If you're resting metabolic rate, and that means like when you are resting, not including like exertion or things like that, how many calories do you need? Does your body need to live, right? To do everyday tasks. And usually a recommended deficit would be to just, so say mine was like, we're going to go easy math here. Say mine was like 2,000 calories was my resting metabolic rate, which I can tell you mine's going to be much higher than that. That's a very low resting metabolic rate. For all you ladies out there that are like, oh, that means I can eat 1,200 calories. No, it doesn't. Like, That's for someone that's like 5'1", maybe 110 pounds.
And the more muscle you have, the more
you're going to
burn at rest.
Yes, exactly. So there's a lot that goes into that. So I'm not saying eat 1,200 calories. Okay, so even if I was at 2,000 calories and I wanted to be in a deficit, that's what I had to maintain. I could reduce that. A normal number, it's mildly aggressive, is 500 calories. So I would set to eat 1,500 calories a day. If I do that over a long period of time, then I would lose weight. However, when you lose weight, your resting metabolic rate is eventually going to adjust. So it would no longer be that 2,000. Like if I lost...
Interesting. So it's always kind of a gradient scale.
Yes, but there needs to be seasons in your life. What you don't want to do is diet all the time, because then your metabolism starts to slow down.
Interesting.
To save energy.
So something else to think about too, when you're talking about a deficit and you're saying, eat 1,500 calories or whatever, if you're also adding in exercise and you go for a 5-mile run or whatever and you burn 500 calories, you need to take that into consideration in your deficit too.
A lot of times, like your resting metabolic rate, when we calculate it, we would automatically take in your exercise activities. So we wouldn't add it back. A lot of times they do, a lot of times they don't. What we would do is take that into account right off the bat as your AEE.
Activity rate?
Okay. Your activity energy expenditure, we would include that. So that's why we need to include that, because you are doing some type of exercise, like just by cleaning your house. Like vacuuming is hard. I think so.
So do you need to take into account if I did like a big gym workout or anything that day?
I wouldn't. I would like your resting metabolic rate. Like I would calculate that overall and just usually start with a deficit of like 250, then maybe 500. Even 500 times 7 is 3,500 calories, right? And that's going to equal 1 pound. So as we talked about, sustainability is really, and we'll get to this later, but I'll spoil it. It's 1 pound a week, like maybe 2 pounds for men.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get into it. So what is a healthy amount of weight to lose, and in what kind of time frame should we expect?
Yeah. So like that's such the hard piece with people, right? Is because all of a sudden we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, oh man, this isn't
happened?
Good. This is not good,
well,
guys.
It didn't get there overnight.
Yeah,
so
and that's what I'm saying, right? So
overnight.
What we were talking about with, consistency over long periods of time being in a calorie deficit. Conversely, you will gain weight if you are regularly eating more than your body is burning, right? So like, that took a long time to get there. Like, it probably took 5 to 10 years for you to get 20 pounds overweight. You just didn't see it till it was 20 pounds.
Right.
It is not going to come off in 6 weeks. It is not. And if it does,
it's not going to stay off.
Yeah. You better adjust some things big time, because
it goes back to the individuals that super active in high school, played a ton of sports, super fit. Now they're in their 50s, their 60s. Like, man, how do I get back to that? Well, it just took you 40 years to gain what you have now.
Well, it goes along with like what we've talked about this multiple times, is like we have it so backwards. It's like the older we get, the less we start to move. And actually the older we get, the more we need to move.
Yeah.
Right? Is like, do the deadlifts, get you a coach. Like you want to be able to stand up out of your chair without using your arms, things like that are going to make your life easier. And so, to answer your question directly, I would say it's smart really to aim to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. Generally, to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week, you need to burn 500 to 1,000 calories more than you consume each day. Okay, so through a lower calorie diet, regular physical activity, losing a lot of weight too fast, it can put you at risk for like many health problems. And we don't think about that because all we think about is like body composition and weight loss. It can result in muscle loss, gallstones, nutritional deficiencies, and a drop in metabolic function, which is essentially metabolism, right? If we lose weight too quickly, our metabolism, our resting metabolic rate is no longer at 2,000. Now it's at 1,500. Well, if you take 500 of 1,500, I can even do that math. That's 1,000 calories, and that is like literally no food. Like you're eating like a bird. And that's no fun for anyone.
So another thing to call out too, well, also the more weight you have to lose, the quicker you will lose it because of all the stuff you just said. But also, if you are someone that either has a lot of weight to lose or maybe doesn't even have a whole lot of weight to lose but is looking to lose some weight, it's always good to get checked out with your doctor first before starting any kind of weight loss plan, any kind of extreme diet, especially if you have any underlying health issues. So today, obviously we're giving tips, we're dropping knowledge, but before diving into any of this stuff for yourself, make sure to get checked out by your doctor. Get a full scan before diving in.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. It's like you need to seek the advice of a medical professional to get your yearly physical. See how you're performing internally because a lot of times when you step foot into a gym, I want you guys to be critics when you step into a gym. Question everything that coach tells you because you don't know. Just because they're a coach there, you don't really ask their background. Mm-hmm. Ask what it is in. Ask what they have done. Ask what their certifications, what their degrees are in, because they are giving you advice about your health. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing more important than that. So, be critics. I love when I meet with clients and they take into their own hands, all of their health. They want to know everything. I'm like, oh my God, I love this person. I'm going to talk to them for hours. But I think Amy's right. Seek medical advice first. Get your yearly physical. Make sure you are healthy to start working with someone or start to work on yourself by yourself. We can give you tips. We can drop knowledge on you from one experience, one education. But again, coaches or nutritionists are still not medical doctors.
Yeah, get your blood work done, get your physical.
There you go.
Get everything right. I know a lot of people are scared to go to the doctor. They're almost just like, I'd rather not know. I don't want to know what that stuff is.
I think that's a huge mental part of it.
Yeah, you just don't want to know. But it's best to know, and it's best to know now. It's best to catch things early. So let's say you've gone to a doctor, you've gotten cleared, you have some weight to lose. What is a healthy way to lose that weight and to keep it off long term, generally speaking?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that you can approach it. You guys know I'm huge on mindset. So it's first when you make that decision, your mind has to be there. It has to be committed. It's like turning over a new leaf, right? That you're going to be motivated in the beginning, but that motivation is going to fall off within a week and a half because this stuff is hard. So at that point, your mind has got to take control, and that your mental part has to be disciplined, right? So, and some concrete ways to do that is, again, a calorie deficit of 500 calories per day is sufficient for weight loss, and unlikely going to affect hunger or energy levels. If you drop really far below that, say you just automatically pull 800 calories, that's sufficient. What you mentioned earlier, Eric, your energy levels are going to plummet from there. And that's something that no one wants to feel. You don't want to feel tired all the time, right? To create this calorie deficit, you also need to know what your maintenance calories are. And this is not exact, right? But this is a simple kind of rule of thumb to take. If you, again, seek professional advice, but if you took your weight and you multiplied that anywhere from like 12 to 14 is going to be like the low range. 14 to 16 is going to be like a higher range. If you took that, so like if someone weighed 135 pounds and they multiplied that by 15, their total calorie intake should be around 2,025 calories. So if I reduce that by 500, I would be eating like 1,500 or 1,525 calories, right? That's sustainable, but let me answer the question of like, if you're looking to gain muscle and you're a female that weighs 135 pounds, 1,500 calories ain't gonna get you there, right? So this is like, I'm talking strictly weight loss from a deficit. It's an easy way to find it because people just don't know. You can also look at calorie counters, like calculators. So one that I've seen that's pretty good is a body weight planner. It's from the National Institute of Health. So it's a calorie calculator. So what it's going to take, it's going to base your calories off of weight, your gender, your age, your height, and your physical activity level.
So is this app that you're talking about, is this different than like a Lose It or like a MyFitnessPal, or is it just like
it's pretty much same thing, but it is from the National Institute of Health, which I like it a little bit better because it takes so many factors into it. And basically what you don't see behind the scenes is a calculation, right? It's a lot of math. So nutrition is a lot of math that is happening, that it's just behind the scenes of how it's happening. One thing I'd like to touch on, though, is like, just because you want to, calories in versus calories out, a calorie is not just a calorie, right?
I was going to say, I was like, okay, so I can go down to 1,500. So that means I can have 1,500 calorie packs of cookies throughout the whole day.
So, like, that's a thing. It's not just calories that matter. That's the overarching thing. Yeah. But what, I talked about the potato. So a 250 gram potato, you're going to multiply that times 9. That's not right. that's not right.
Maths.
I told you, math's so hard. But anyways, so let's break it down like this. 1 gram of protein is 9 calories. Okay. 1 gram of, this is wrong. Let's back up. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9. So that's how you get that. And so if you're eating, again, 250, a potato is basically a carbohydrate. That's going to give you your carb count. So you actually want like a really balanced approach of those calories. So you want usually around 30% to make up protein. Across the board, a standard is like a 40-40-20. I like a little bit more fats in the diet. Like I'd rather it be around at least 25%. But if you eat only Twinkies, you're going to have only carbs, right? And then you're going to be way over your calories and you're going to feel lethargic and tired. And so you're not getting any nutrients, right? So you have to think of 1 macronutrient. So that's protein, carbs, fats. But then there's micronutrients, which are the vitamins that the body is getting and that a lot of times you can only get from food. So those things are just as important, if not more important, than just the calories, right? Is finding how to balance that piece and looking at like what is on your plate, what does it consist of.
I love that. So, yeah, definitely getting a good mix of everything, getting all your macros, micronutrients.
Don't listen to my math. Like
449.
I'm sitting here thinking in my head, like, oh, that's not right. No.
Dana just got a headache.
It's still early. You need one of your cups of coffee that you liked at the beginning.
That was rough.
So if we're going back to tracking the calories, deficits, all that stuff, sometimes like I'll just randomly track my calories just for a day to just see where I'm at, and I am like blown away at like portion sizes of things, like in such a sad way. Like I'll sit down with like a family size bag of chips, and I don't like notice how many chips I'm eating.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I'll get a bag of chips at work, and you open the bag and it's half empty, and there's like 4 chips in there.
I get really annoyed by that.
It's got like 250 calories,
Yeah,
and it's like
to fill
4
this
chips
bag
in
up.
the bag. Like what the heck? So there's sneaky calories in places,
big
and
time.
so
Yep.
I also like some soul crushing things like Pop-Tarts having 450 calories. Like,
And I
that's
love
egregious.
Pop-Tarts. I don't
Who-
eat them,
who
but I
allowed
love
that?
them.
It's like the little crumbs too at the end of the
it's
chip
so
bag,
sad.
you know?
Yeah.
They're like little broken up pieces, so you scoop up like a finger width and just shove it in.
Yeah, you don't
That's
think
probably like
about it.
5 chips right there.
Yeah.
I know, like sometimes they'll look at like no one looks at the serving size. Legit,
Right.
they're like, here's the calories. Okay, I'm looking at calories, proteins, carbs, fats. Well, you got to multiply that by the serving size you just had times 4.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like when you get like a bottle of soda, like a lot of people don't realize, like the calories are really big, but the serving sizes are
It's
really
like 2.
small. Yeah,
Yeah.
two and a half, usually like 2.5 in a bottle. So you're not getting 160 calories. You're getting 300 or 400 calories.
There's a few things that you can do, like you talked about. I love what you mentioned, like sneaky calories. There's some things that you can do like on a daily basis to help you reduce that type of like, don't let it sneak it in there. Like eat the food, get the
Right.
calories. Don't let little things send you over the top. So like number 1 for me would be like at least try counting your calories for a period of time.
Just check in. See
So
where you're
you
at.
don't have to later. Like, I actually counted calories for like 2 years. Again, it was when I was very serious in competing. But now it's so wonderful because I can live the rest of my life in a really healthy, maintainable way. Because I know what serving sizes look like, and I know I don't have to weigh or count my calories anymore. I straight up know that like a banana that's 110 grams is like around 30 something carbs.
Yeah.
Like, because I actually learned food, right? And then I'm going to say it's in the sauce.
Okay,
Use less sauce.
Cover your ears if you love Chick-fil-A, but a packet of Chick-fil-A sauce has 140 calories.
Yes.
Dog, I use 2 of those just on my fries, and then like 2 more on like a
It's
sandwich
in
or something.
the sauce, people. Dips, dressings.
I see people getting
good
salads
ranch
all the
dressing.
time,
Oof.
all the time. It's like, do you want some lettuce with your ranch?
Oh, that's me. That's literally me. Like I am a saucy person in multiple ways, right? Another one would be don't drink your calories. So like Amy mentioned with sodas, things like that. A big one, like this one just hit me in the face. It's like, duh, but cook your own food. What we don't know is like when you go out to eat, which like everyone loves a good out to eat meal, but you know, you don't know what's in their sauce. You don't know.
Well, they based in that steak and butter, right?
Yeah, right? You don't know what's in there. So reduce portion sizes, bulk up meals with veggies, slow down when you're eating.
Good one.
And then my personal favorite is just eating mini versions of like sweets and desserts. Usually we're just craving something sweet, not the whole pie, not the whole piece of
Right.
pie. Like what you have to do is learn to be satisfied instead of like gorged.
I've heard like with a dessert, you take 2 bites because that first bite always tastes great, and then
You're
that
like, "I need
last
another."
bite is like really exciting because you're savoring it because it's the last bite. So that first and last bite, you really don't need any in the middle. Just take
No.
those 2 bites.
2 bites, you're done. And again, it's basically in the premise of with our portion sizes today, there's so much food. And a lot of us were taught like you're not leaving the table until you clean your plate, right? And you might need to leave some on the plate because our portion sizes are
They're huge.
astronomical.
They're huge.
And the way I have been able to have success with maintaining, like I've been in maintenance mode for like 5 years now, is more knowing when I'm satisfied and when I'm full. instead of being like actually stuffed and like have to unbutton your pants
Right.
under the table.
Stretchy pants
Don't do
on.
that.
So these are all great tips. I love all of this, but I want to finish out with this question of what is balance? Do you need it? Like how to tune into your balance, is that accurate? And just like overall, just how to eat a healthy diet. Kind of summarize us up today.
Yeah, I think first, again, you have to know what is your balanced, because I promise you, like Amy's balanced isn't going to be my balanced. My balance is not going to be someone else's. So like, what does balance mean to you? And then, having a plate with proteins, carbs, and fats. Try to do that at every meal so you're more balanced across the spectrum. You're not just eating Pop-Tarts, which is straight up carbs, simple carbs, right? So sugar. So think about balancing things out. So if you have oatmeal for breakfast and that's all you have, that's a carbohydrate. It's a grain, right? Great choice. Keep doing it. Add 2 eggs with it, and you have a much more balanced meal because now you have the protein with the carbohydrate. So think about balancing your meals out. So if you have, and one thing that's very helpful is think about pairing proteins with fats and proteins with carbs. So instead of like carb and fat together, think about always like protein with fats, carbs, protein. Everything goes with protein, or have them all together instead of just having, a handful of nuts and a banana you think is really healthy, but like you need some protein in there. So think about having protein with every meal.
Something the wife and I just did this past weekend is we printed out what's a fat, what's a
Yep.
carb, what's a protein, put it on the fridge, because then we make our grocery list. We just now will look at that and kind of cross-reference, okay, we need to buy these things.
And then basically you're just learning without really even trying. Like
Right.
every time you look at that, like eventually you're going to know like a banana is a carb, a potato is a carb, nuts are fats, lean meats are proteins. Eventually you start to learn, and it becomes so much easier over time where you can create a lifestyle instead of a diet.
I
Right.
love that. Lifestyle instead of a diet.
You heard it here
Yes.
first.
Close it out with that one.
Yes, let's close it out. I love that. So, Dana, thank you so much for joining us today. Dropped some serious knowledge bombs. I learned a lot. I hope our listeners learned a lot today, and we are really excited to catch y'all back at our next Coach's Corner in 2 weeks. Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys.
Thank you guys for having me.